Yesterday, the state had its first coronavirus case confirmed.
Public Health is reassuring the community the state's first case of coronavirus.
Tasmania is fighting fire with fire.
Supermarket shelves are raided by shoppers stockpiling.
The crisis surrounding North West hospitals continues.
North West Regional Hospital has been hit with an outbreak of coronavirus.
A major virus outbreak in the North West appears to have been averted.
The North West Regional Hospital is starting to return to some sense of normality tonight as ADF and AUSMAT personnel hand the facility back to Tasmanian health workers.
The Tasmanian Premier called up 9 eminent Tasmanian leaders to form an advisory council to provide advice and recommendations for Tasmania's recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Council members came with a broad range of expertise and perspectives on how to tackle the challenges ahead. The council has completed its work and released its final report. These are the people who make up the Premier's Economic and Social Recovery Advisory Council.
You don't often get phone calls out of the blue from the Premier. It was a bit daunting, but also exciting, and I was wondering what this was going to involve and what sort of challenge it was. But there we were at the beginning of the worst phase of the suppression measures for COVID-19, and our community was in trouble. And I thought, here's a fantastic opportunity to get in with a group of other like-minded people and see what we can do to help our community.
The mood within the community, and certainly in my world, was calamitous. COVID created chaos.
The state was in need, and I felt that as a business leader in the state I had something to contribute, so I didn't think about it, I just said yes.
Thinking about what our economic and social recovery looked like, the role of PESRAC really was to try and find what I call the sweet spot between economic and social policy. And we really needed to do that in a way that was quite transforming for the future of Tasmania, because the impact had been at a social and an economic level. I think as we worked through that as a group of people who had not necessarily worked together before, we could really see where we could play to the strengths of our team as a council, but also where we needed to bring in the voice of Tasmanians. So I think my expectation was that we would be able to get that balance right between economic recovery and social recovery in a way that's set up for a stronger future for Tasmania.
Often when people gather to make reports like this, it's all about the economy. What we determined to do was to have a conversation with Tasmanians about their whole lives and the lives of our community, because that's ultimately what we all care about. And that's really what the Wellbeing agenda is about, reframing this conversation from purely an economic one to one about our whole life, and how do we make a better life as we go forward.
There were a million ways we could have approached this work, and the fact that the Premier had asked us to consider both social and economic aspects of recovery led us to framing this up in terms of overall wellbeing and that wellbeing framework that we've utilised.
Wellbeing are the key ingredients that people, children, adults need for a good life. It's as simple as that. It's about breaking it down into the things that really matter. Do we have enough income to get by? Do we have houses to live in? Do we have the types of education systems that we need to educate our young people and our adults to get the jobs that we know that they want? Do we have the right supports in place in our communities to ensure that we're able to deal with issues like family violence, like drug and alcohol misuse? These are all the things that a wellbeing lens enables us to focus on. It's about people and what they need.
We were asked to do two things. One was to come up with recommendations for the government to help the community with the recovery, focusing on the here and now, the immediate and the short term. And in a second phase, we were asked to put that aside and to look over the hill and to think about what sort of things would help the medium and longer term recovery from the COVID pandemic.
Phase 2 was very much about looking ahead to a longer term recovery. Phase 1 had been analysing a lot of data around immediate impacts. Phase 2 was very much about establishing preconditions for longer term recovery and strengthening of the Tasmanian community and economy.
We wanted to hear from all Tasmanians, and indeed the Premier told us he wanted to hear from all Tasmanians. So we ran a very comprehensive consultation program that involved formal submissions, people putting a sentence or two on an online form on our website, a Wellbeing survey in which we tapped into the thoughts of over 3,000 Tasmanians, and a very in-depth set of workshops in which we brought together people from what we call clusters of interest, businesses, industry, social groups, and asked them to imagine what life was like under different COVID scenarios. And finally, we ran a group of regional workshops in which we went out and played back the main themes we got from the other consultation processes to people from regional Tasmania, people outside the cities and the urban areas.
When we went out to capture the voice of Tasmanians, it was really challenging. We had a short period of time and we had a very small team to do that with. And so capturing the voice of 3,500 Tasmanians in such a condensed period of time was actually quite a remarkable outcome. What we heard was that the health and wellbeing of Tasmanians was front and centre in their mind. The way of life, our beautiful environment, what makes Tasmania and our island state so precious, was really articulated loudly and clearly to us from all of Tasmanians who participated, from the biggest of industries through to a citizen who went online and did the survey as part of that process.
The Council's final report makes 52 recommendations aimed at enhancing wellbeing, developed from the input of around 3,500 Tasmanians. Creating jobs, ensuring people have the skills and personal capabilities to work and advance, and being better at matching people who need to work with the jobs that are available are central to recovery strategy aimed at growing economic and social opportunities for Tasmanians. Equally important is doing so in a way that is consistent with our environmental and sustainability values.
An important area of the recommendations for me was to ensure that the state government provides the right settings to enable businesses to invest in major projects here in Tasmania. It's very important that we do what we can to encourage investment from the private sector, whether that be at a local level or at a major size. But we do need to ensure that the state government departments proactively engage with proponents on suitable projects.
The government's got to be open for business, and you need a private investment because the government can't carry all the load. You just have to have private investment, and then we need to be able to accommodate that private investment. We need to protect all the things that are important to Tasmania, which is our environment, the way we live. We've got a pristine lifestyle in Tasmania to die for in this world today, and I think through COVID that has come out in spades.
But we don't want to undermine the values that really make Tasmania different to other parts of the world, and that is particularly the environment and just our lifestyle that we enjoy here in Tasmania.
What was really interesting through the consultation was the extent to which environmental sustainability came out as a common theme across all aspects of our work.
The second point was probably really clearly around the need for a much better training system holistically to support our people be job ready. The clear messages we're getting back about the TAS-TAFE system is one, it's a very important institution within Tasmania. It needs to change. Needs to be supported through that change process, but the key issue that seems to be coming through is it's actually not structured to serve the actual private sector as it needs to.
We believe that we can do much better in our TAFE system to produce job ready and match the qualifications of people so that they match what industry needs.
Some of the Council's key social recommendations are centred on health, particularly mental health, as well as community engagement and connection, both online connection and in the real world.
Mental health has been an incredibly strong theme. It underpins the well-being of every Tasmanian. We know that without addressing it at the community level and at a systemic level, we will not be able to support Tasmanians to recover from COVID-19. This is incredibly important.
Community and connectivity are really important to Tasmanians.
So in this report, we've tackled head-on the real Tasmanian challenge to ensure that people can access all of the digital infrastructure in the ways that they need to. Digital are the roads of the 21st century. If you're not connected to a road, you can't get anywhere. It's now the same with digital.
I think when you read the report, you will see at the heart of the recommendations is a collective ambition so that Tasmanians and Tasmania can be the best version of itself.
We've heard a wealth of information from Tasmanians and we've built our recommendations on that. But really, it's now over to you, Tasmanians.